howdy, hey, how is everybody doing, and welcome back to Disney Daily. If you have been with this channel for a while, then you know I have a deep admiration for the movie Atlantis. And part of that deep admiration for the movie comes from the crew that Mr. Whitmore assembles to help Milo track down the mysterious lost city. So in honor of the amazing members of the Atlantis exploration, I have been doing a more in-depth look at the backstories of each crew member, and today is all about the brilliant and beautiful mechanic Audrey Ramirez. Audrey is actually the youngest of the group, which makes her that much more impressive in terms of her work ethic and knowledge. Not only is Audrey tough in every sense of the word, but she cares deeply for those around her and will stand up for what is right. Audrey seems to really care about Milo and develops a genuine friendship with him, which was one of my favorite things to see throughout the movie. Audrey is an impressive young lady that I have personally always wanted to know more about, so we are going to do that in today's video. Now, before we get into her younger years, let's go over the development of the character. As I was researching about Audrey, I learned that animators wanted to make a character who was around the same age as Milo. They figured if the two characters were close in age, they could relate to one another better, which ended up being very accurate in my opinion. Screenwriter Tab Murphy has noted that director Gary Trousdale and Kirk Wise were the ones who really felt a mechanic was necessary to the exploration crew. This desire for a mechanic character inspired Murphy, who came up with the strong, tough, and feisty teenager Audrey. It is believed that he drew inspiration for her character from Latin American women in the Bronx. In addition to that, animator John Pomeroy believes Audrey's personality was very similar to the character's leading animator Anne-Marie Bardwell. Now let's get into Audrey's backstory before she joined the Atlantis exploration team. I found this information about her interestingly enough in the movie itself. You see, in the film there's a whole file on Audrey that Mr. Whitmore has in his possession that he hands over to Milo to look at. And it is in this file that we learn what a natural Audrey was at building and repairing things from a very young age. At just 18 months, Audrey was taking apart and putting together various clocks throughout her home. By the age of 3, she was able to pick any lock, simple or complex, which became a bit problematic due to the fact that she could get her hands on any sweet treats her parents had tried to hide throughout the house. Audrey was a very driven child who always wanted to learn more about automobiles, and by the age of 4, she began working alongside her father Manuel in his workshop. The first car she worked on was a 96 quadricycle runabout, and she completely rebuilt it all on her own. This was the biggest indicator to her father Manuel that she was very gifted and had what he called the touch. From that point on, Audrey worked alongside her father in the shop and was promoted to full apprentice at the age of 7 in 1901. In 1905, the whole Ramirez family moved to Detroit, where Audrey and her father worked in their own shop by day, but by night the two worked alongside each other at the Henry Ford automotive plant to help supplement the income of Manuel's shop. At age 9, Audrey became a journeyman mechanic, which meant she was done with her apprenticeship and could go off and be a fully independent mechanic. But she continued working for the company and began researching and experimenting with various gear drives and hydraulics. 2 years after being with Ford, she was given a supervisor position at the early age of 11. Audrey continued her leadership role while fighting for fair wages and treatment for automobile unions in 1909. That same year, she was credited for developing the first blueprint of the assembly line method of production, which became a huge staple in the automobile industry. In 1910, she helped develop certain drive gears and a gear-driven centrifugal pump cooling system. It would be years later before Audrey would be asked to join the Atlantis crew and take the place of her father Manuel, who had been a part of the journey to Iceland to locate the Shepherd's Journal. And we actually get to see a picture of her father for a brief moment in the movie. Well, that concludes this episode of Disney Daily. I hope you learned something new. Please leave down in the comments which Atlantis crew member you would like to hear more about. As always, thanks for being my guest here at Disney Daily. Until next time.